Most men don't realize it until it's too late. But some of the biggest regrets in life have nothing to do with missed careers, lost money, or even health. They're about intimacy, the quiet, painful moments of emotional distance with the woman you once loved, the disconnects you never understood, the words you couldn't say, the emotional doors that never opened again. I'm Dr. William Mark, a urologist and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping men reclaim their vitality, intimacy, and sense of purpose, especially later in life. I've worked with veterans, grandfathers, divorcees, and widowers, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Most men were never taught how women really work emotionally, and that's not their fault. You see, what truly builds lasting connection isn't charm, physical strength, or success. It's something deeper, something psychological. And here's the surprising truth. Women have hidden emotional triggers, 5 of them in particular, that quietly shape their attraction, trust, and desire. Understand these 5 emotional keys, and everything can change. This video will walk you through the exact 5 hidden female weaknesses that most older men wish they had learned decades ago. These are not tricks. These are emotional truths that open doors, rebuild intimacy, and give you back the quiet confidence you may have thought was long gone. And wait until you hear the 5th one. It's the most powerful of all, because it doesn't just deepen connection, it transforms how a woman sees you at your core. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss insights crafted specifically for men over 60 who value real growth, wisdom, and connection. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and let me know how I can serve you better. Now let's begin with the first truth, one that surprises even the most experienced men. 1. Emotional stability, the hidden key to reigniting intimacy. Many men believe that providing financial security, being faithful, and maintaining physical health are the cornerstones of a lasting relationship. While these are important, there's an often overlooked element that profoundly impacts a woman's sense of connection and trust: emotional stability. Consider Tom, a 67-year-old retired engineer. He once shared with me, "I did everything right, worked hard, stayed loyal, ensured we were financially secure, but somehow we drifted apart." Tom's experience isn't unique. Over the years, I've encountered countless men who, despite their best efforts, find themselves disconnected from their partners. The underlying issue often isn't about tangible provisions, but about the emotional environment within the relationship. Women, regardless of age, seek a partner who offers a sense of emotional safety, a steady presence amidst life's uncertainties. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or avoiding vulnerability. Instead, it's about being a calming force, someone who can navigate challenges without becoming overwhelmed or reactive. Emotional stability manifests in moments like listening without immediately offering solutions, remaining composed during disagreements, and providing reassurance during times of stress. It's about being present, patient, and understanding. When a woman feels this stability, it fosters trust, deepens intimacy, and rekindles the connection that might have faded over time. Tom eventually embraced this approach. By focusing on being emotionally available and steady, he and his wife found their way back to each other. She confided, "I feel like I can breathe again around you." That sense of safety and understanding was more impactful than any grand gesture. In essence, while actions and words are vital, it's the consistent emotional presence that truly anchors a relationship. For many women, especially as they age, this becomes the foundation upon which lasting intimacy is built. 2. Women are drawn to men who hold something back. There's a lesson most men were never taught, especially in our generation. Being completely open too soon doesn't always create closeness. It can actually kill attraction. I remember one of my patients, Harold, a thoughtful widower in his early 70s. He had just started dating again after years of being alone. He came into my office confused and frustrated. "Doc," he said, "I was kind, attentive, totally transparent. I told her everything about myself, and then she just disappeared." I told him what I've told many men. Sometimes we give too much too fast, thinking that full emotional access will win her heart. But here's the truth most men don't hear. Women are not drawn to what they already fully understand. They are drawn to a little mystery, to discovery, to emotional pacing. That doesn't mean you lie or hide. It means you give her room to explore who you are, little by little. Women are curious by nature. Their emotional engagement deepens when there's more to learn, not when everything's been handed to them up front. When you make her wonder what's on your mind, not because you're distant, but because you're centered, she leans in. When she has to ask a question to get a glimpse into your inner world, she becomes more invested. You create the space where intimacy grows over time instead of peaking too quickly and fading. It's not about being cold or withdrawn. It's about being grounded enough to pace the emotional flow, to reveal parts of yourself slowly, intentionally, and confidently. And here's the real magic. When you hold a little back, you create tension. Not negative tension, but the kind that fuels desire and keeps her emotionally engaged. Harold tried this shift in approach. He didn't change who he was, just how quickly he gave all of himself. Within a few weeks, he met someone new. This time, instead of pouring everything out on the first few dates, he let the connection breathe. And it made all the difference. She leaned in, she stayed curious, and Harold realized that holding something back isn't manipulation, it's wisdom. Number 3. Women respect men who can walk away with dignity. One of the hardest lessons for many men is understanding that strength doesn't come from holding tighter. It comes from knowing when to let go with dignity. You see, most men were never taught this. We were taught to prove our worth through persistence, loyalty, and sacrifice. And while those are noble traits, they can quietly backfire when they come from a place of fear rather than confidence. I once worked with a man named Robert, 74, recently divorced. He sat in my office, exhausted, not from anger, but from years of trying too hard. "I gave everything I had," he said, "and somehow it still wasn't enough." He wasn't weak, he was generous, but he gave from a place of need. And women can feel that. When a woman senses that your identity, your sense of self, depends on her validation, something shifts. Her respect quietly diminishes, not because she wants power, but because she wants partnership. No woman wants to feel like she's the only reason you stand tall. That's why one of the most powerful things a man can do is walk away, not out of ego, not to punish, but to protect his self-worth. A man who can calmly say, "I want this, but I won't chase it at the cost of my dignity," instantly changes the emotional dynamic. You don't need to slam doors, you don't need to yell. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. When you hold your boundaries, when you stop negotiating your value, when you let go without collapsing, you become a man she remembers. Not because you were dramatic, but because you were grounded. And here's the twist. When a man stops trying to convince, when he steps back with peace instead of panic, women often lean back in. Not because you manipulated anything, but because you stood firm. Respect returns. Sometimes attraction too. Because the man who doesn't chase is the man who's already whole. And that kind of man isn't just rare, he's unforgettable. 4. A man on a mission is irresistible, even at 65. There's a certain energy that draws people in, not because it's loud or flashy, but because it's alive. That energy? Purpose. And nothing awakens attraction in a woman, especially later in life, like a man who still wakes up with something to chase, something to build, something to become. Too many men retire not just from work, but from themselves. They settle into the couch, the routine, the slow drift of days with no aim, and slowly, without noticing, they begin to disappear. Not physically, but energetically. Women feel that shift. When you no longer have direction, when you stop dreaming, when you start looking to her as your only source of meaning, it changes the dynamic. A light goes out, not just in you, but in how she sees you. But here's the good news. You don't need a big mission to reignite that light. It doesn't have to be a career or a grand ambition. It could be learning something new, building something with your hands, mentoring younger men, even volunteering for a cause that moves you. What matters is that your soul is still reaching forward. I remember Leonard, 68, recently retired. He told me, "Doc, I thought I'd feel free when I stopped working, but now I just feel invisible." He wasn't depressed. He was disconnected from purpose. We worked together, not on medication, but on mission. Within months, Leonard began restoring old tools and teaching local teens how to use them. The sparkle came back. His voice changed. And not long after, a woman entered his life. Not because he went looking, but because he became someone worth finding. Purpose gives you posture. It gives you a reason to wake up, and a reason she wants to walk beside you. Not lead you, not carry you, but partner with you. A man on a mission doesn't need to convince anyone of his value. He's already living it. And that kind of energy, it's magnetic. Not because of what you're doing, but because of who you become while doing it. 5. Controlled vulnerability melts a woman's guard, but only when paired with strength. Most men have been taught that strength means silence, that showing emotion is weakness, that if you open your heart, you'll lose control. But the truth is, the opposite is often more powerful when it's done with balance. Vulnerability, when it's grounded in strength, becomes a force few women can resist. It's not about spilling your every emotion. It's not about crying on command or turning your partner into your therapist. It's about opening a window, just enough to show what shaped you, hurt you, changed you, and doing it without apology or neediness. One of my patients, Greg, 73, had been married twice. In both marriages, he felt like something was always missing, like his partner never really saw him. But he also admitted that he never truly let himself be seen. Until one night, years into his third relationship, he shared something from his past, losing his younger brother at 18. For decades, he had carried it alone. His partner sat there in silence. Then tears came to her eyes. "I feel like I just met the real you," she said. That's the impact of controlled vulnerability. It doesn't weaken you, it connects you. But here's the nuance. Vulnerability without strength feels unstable. It pushes women into a caretaking role. But vulnerability, paired with emotional grounding, where you say, "Here's what I've been through and here's how I survived," makes a woman feel trusted, not burdened. It creates a bond of equals, not imbalance. You don't need to share everything. Just something real, something earned, something you've processed and are ready to own. That's when she listens differently. That's when she lets her own guard down, because now you've created emotional safety, not by being soft, but by being solid and open. Women crave that rare balance. Not the man who hides and not the man who bleeds everywhere, but the man who can feel deeply and still stand tall. By the time most men come to me in their 60s or 70s, they aren't asking how to be more charming. They're asking how to rebuild a connection that's faded, how to find intimacy that feels real again, and how to be seen, not just as a partner, but as a man with value, presence, and purpose. And the answer isn't in flowers or grand gestures. It's in everything you just learned. Women don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with emotional stability, the calm you bring when things get chaotic. They stay curious about men who don't rush to be fully understood, who hold just enough mystery to keep her leaning in. They feel deep respect for men who can walk away with dignity, not out of pride, but from a place of inner worth. They're inspired by men who still have a mission, who wake up with something to give to the world. And they open their hearts most fully to men who share their truth, not in a flood of emotion, but in a way that says, "This is me. I've lived, I've felt, and I'm still standing." These aren't tricks, they're truths. And the sooner we understand them, the sooner we stop trying to force connection and start creating it. You don't need to become someone else. You need to return to the strongest, calmest, most grounded version of yourself. That version is still there. And he's more attractive, more powerful, and more capable of love than he's ever been. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to share it. Another man out there may be looking for the answers you just found.